improvements. And essentially, the way those work, it's very much like our contract with Amoresco on AMI, is it's on a recapture rate. So it's essentially you borrow money at a given percentage, and they're on the hook for proving that over the life of the project, because you go to LED lights or whatever those improvements consist of, that you're going to save X number of dollars, which will justify the payment on the note that you borrowed. It's a very, very similar system. I've looked into it in the past in other cities that I've worked in. So that might be something else we could look at, but there's, as you can tell, there's kind of some strings attached if you try to do something like that. So I wanted to call your attention to that. And
a quick point of clarification, that was during the Castroville Conservation Society dinner.
Yes. Okay.
You had said Texas Historic Commission, so I just want to be really
clear.
Yeah,
were they presenting at that dinner, I guess, or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They were recognizing the different participants in the Candlelight Home Tour. Actually, if you look out into the lobby over here, just to the right of our twinning ceremony is the picture that they had done for the city, because we had the Steinbach House in there. Elisa Cease does that for each one of the different homes and businesses, and they had done some of that for the other folks that were doing that. So they did the presentations for that at that meeting.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. The other thing I'm going to call attention to is the effluent at the park. So I put this in my report. We did get a visit from TCEQ. We go through every 4 or 5 years or so. They'll do like a thorough inspection of our plant, and so that's what took place. The gentleman that did the inspection is, I don't think he's new to TCEQ. In fact, I think he's probably been there a number of years, but he's new to us. He's new to this area, and so he had a lot of research to do on our particular situation. Each plant, each setup is is a little bit different, and so he had to learn a little bit about that. But we are waiting for his full report. One of the outcomes of his visit was a strong recommendation to start putting our effluent to the river. So that's, you'll notice that we did start that in Regional Park. Now, when we put the effluent to the river, there is an outfall location that's permitted, and at that outfall location, the water, so the outfall location is a good several hundred feet from the edge of the embankment on the west side of the western pond. So western pond up here, it's kind of a steep embankment, and the river starts down below, or there's a creek. Our outfall location is several hundred feet down, and you'll see it. Today it's marked by basically what looks like a dam and a sign. That's where that outfall is. When we started putting water in the river, it came back uphill, basically, and filled in that area, and when it did, it seeped through the hillside and kind of bubbled up over by the road and started creating a pond. And we had, a couple 100,000 gallons of water that we put to the river, and not all of it seeped out. A very small fraction of that did, but it created a concern for staff because it's seeping through the ground to get over there. So Phil King and I met out at the park. He gave me some suggestions on how to deal with that. At present, what we've done first was we built a dam to minimize that backflow event. That seems to be working. We're also kind of rechannelizing, if you will, that stream, the stream bed in that area, to make sure that the flow, that it continues to flow out to the west. So that's been ongoing for the past week. But I knew y'all probably would likely to get some calls about that. I want to make sure you understood what we're doing and why. The goal is that once we get this portion of it down and we're able to regularly send the water to the river, then we will empty those 2 ponds that we have. That water will be put through the plant so that it goes through the same process, and it'll be sanitized. Yeah, sanitized water, clean water when it comes out.
So based off of this, don't we have an agreement with Bank Ranch?
So the BAME contract is yes, we have a separate agreement with the BAMEs for them to take water. And that was one of the concerns that came up from TCEQ.
Right. So does TCEQ make it legal for us to cancel that agreement?
I don't think it'd be in our best interest to cancel it, but there are enough concerns from TCEQ that we're going to have to work through those. And just in talking high level with Phil, And I talked to Phil specifically because he was on he's has a lot of anecdotal and historical knowledge about that agreement, about what we've done in the past, et cetera. So we're waiting on to get the TCEQ report, because I believe the first thing we're going to do when we get that report is do kind of a rebuttal. We'll sit down with staff, sit down with the BAMES, sit down with Phil, and go through what their concerns are, and then clarify some things for that inspector, because I believe that there's some things that he just doesn't know, and that may be erroneous concerns on his part. But I don't know that until I've got the report. So that's something we're waiting on right now. But I would not recommend that we discontinue sending water to the farm, because I think it's a anytime you're going to reuse the water, that's a good thing. So. But we are working, and just for so one of the things we're struggling with is watering the park with it reliably. Where the water gets drawn from to water the park is our pond, and that's the only place that we have to draw water from at present, without building some type of reservoir. And because it comes from the pond, although we've tried different filtering mechanisms, it's been a source of constant challenge within the park. The debris and other stuff builds up in our sprinkler system, and the heads have had to be replaced, and it gets expensive to do so. The other thing is pressure, being able to maintain pressure and control the valves for that sprinkler system. So one of the things that staff will be doing is trying to work with, one, devise a plan. What does that look like? Is there a way that we can create, if we empty the ponds, can we create a retaining area for effluent to then be utilized in the park? I think that'll create an opportunity once those ponds are empty to do something like that. But we've got to put together costs and what that looks like, right? So those are things that we had discussions. Again, I talked to Phil about a while back. We had a plan, but that was prior to all of this other stuff. So that's not all that's in the report, but kind of expounded a little bit on some of the things I wrote. Are there any other questions about the city administrator report?
Councilman Dyer.
Okay, let's start with what's the status of our bed and banks permit application? We
Yes.
keep, every year we say it's almost done.
Yep.
But when's it going to be done?
I don't know, because we're not in control of that. TCEQ is in control of when it actually gets issued. And the last word I had from K-Freeze, they've followed up they've been fairly diligent. Every month or two, they'll reach out to TCEQ and say, hey, we just want an update. Where does this stand? And they've done that recently. I don't know, can't tell you a specific
submitted
date.
everything that's
Yeah,
required?
everything's been submitted. It's sitting on the TCEQ desk for approval.
5 years ago, we were told if we dump any water in the river before we get the bed and banks permit, that we lose our opportunity to sell water downstream. That's what the city council was told. Is that still true? Have we lost our ability to sell water now, since we're pumping water in the river?
So that's something that Phil asked about as well. Now, we had already, he brought that up after I discharged. TCEQ certainly didn't make any kind of comment about that, the enforcement agent that was here and spoke to us. So that's something that I've asked K-Freeze to follow up on and just ask. But I would argue that we have a strong argument against that based on, one, the timeline for when we submitted our permit. It's been sitting on their desk for probably 9 months or more. I mean,
Maybe we should do something to protect ourselves.
yeah,
Write a letter or something.
yeah, that's a great idea.
Regarding the using wastewater to irrigate the park, I brought this up at least 3 or 4 times over the last 4 years. Have we considered renting or buying a 12,000-gallon water truck and watering the park with a water truck? Or leasing a service to come and do it for us, so we can use the effluent in the park? Because we keep being told too much particles, we can't pump it through the system we have. So why don't we put it in the truck and drive the truck around the park and water the park?
Yeah.
And we could do
Well,
the
you
same
still-
thing at Lions Field.
Yeah, you still have some of the same issues.